So thank you for attending tonight. If you were here last week, you know we started off with a rousing program about the challenges of poverty in Durham. We heard of the challenge in faith, the challenge in fact, and then lastly the challenge in a person. So tonight we're going to turn our attention to what I learned from another member of our committee, Terry Allebaugh, who will be moderating this panel, what is called the axis of poverty, which are jobs and housing. So I'm going to turn the program over to Terry, but first let you know that he currently is working as the Executive Director of Housing for New Hope, and as I said, he's also a member here at this church. Terry?
I had suggested this session when we were in planning mode for our 4 series during the Lenten season, and had suggested the title, Axis of Poverty, Jobs and Housing, because it's my conviction, and I think the conviction of others, that whatever your strategies are that you develop around the response to homelessness and poverty, at the center of that's got to be some clear directives around these 2 issues of jobs and housing, the kind of focal point. And I think we'll hear more about that as we go forward. Certainly, and some of the speakers may also speak to this, the employment situation in Durham historically. I know when I first moved here in the 80s, it was still remnants of the tobacco warehouses as well as the textile industries. And I met so many people who had worked and labored in that industry, solid working class jobs where they could make $15 to $20 an hour with a high school education and learning a certain skill within the context of that industry. So with that, they were able to purchase their own homes, buy a car, have a 2-week vacation, and though had to work hard, they certainly had a stable lifestyle and one that they were able to earn sufficient income to make happen. Certainly, historically, there was been a lot of locally owned businesses in Durham, such as Hay Tie, that employed a lot of people. So, though that I don't want to paint too rosy a picture of the past, but we did have a Durham that had this solid working class environment, which enabled people to earn enough money that they were able to live okay. Then things changed as our economy changed, and unfortunately, a lot of the service jobs, the jobs that are available to much of our population, especially those who are homeless or living in poverty, became more service-oriented, fast food, janitorial. And though it was good to have work, historically they've just not paid anything what those industry jobs did. So people went from being working class or at best working poor to not even being able to make ends meet. We have in our country a minimum wage of $7.25 an hour, and we know that that's not going to go very far to afford the housing and afford the kind of needs that are met. There's been a lot of work over the years promoted not only by advocacy groups but by city and county officials to promote a living wage, and that varies a lot, but right now I looked it up earlier today, and for a single adult with 1 child, that living wage is now $19.89 that you need to make in order to make all the ends meet. Well, you know, they publish the kind of jobs that pay that, and there's a whole bunch of them that don't even come close to paying that. So it's understandable that people are struggling. And historically, we've had certain housing that was tied into that same industry. Certainly, as you look at the districts, say around E.K. Poe and West End, that's all mill houses practically that was set up to respond to those people who were working in the industry, and they're working in the industry. They're very modest homes, really, but they're ones that people could own. They're also historically to serve those who were poor and living in poverty. There was numerous rooming houses all over Durham that provided housing that for people to afford. As our industry and as our economy has changed, a lot of those things have fallen by the wayside and are no longer accessible. So some of the rooming houses, fortunately, have closed up, and some of the affordable housing, fortunately, is closed up too, because there was a good bit of it that was really not very well maintained and was part of what we might call the slums. And with the advent of increased energy to enforce housing codes and minimum housing standards, that we've been fortunate to have in the city of Durham, it puts that added pressure on the presence of affordable housing. So you have some place like Lincoln Apartments that have been in a deteriorating situation for many years. And then when it's inspected and found to be really in violation, there's no way the owners can absorb that. And it needed to close, except that it points out that where there was 150 units of affordable housing on the market, those are gone. So these present some real challenges to us as we're moving forward to how to work this axis of poverty so that we bring people's income up by income, jobs, and we bring the cost of housing down so people can afford that. And those strategies are critical to ending homelessness and ending poverty. Not to say that there's not others that revolve around that are also important, access to health care, childcare, etc. But these form an axis of it. So we're very fortunate here this evening to have 4 folks from Durham, 2 to talk on jobs and 2 to talk on housing. I'm going to briefly introduce all 4 of them and then get out of their way and let them do their thing, and we'll have plenty of opportunity for comments and questions. I'll pause this after the 2 folks on jobs go for comments and questions, the same after the 2 people on housing speak. So on the jobs part, first up will be Fred Stoppelkamp, who's right here. Fred, stand up. Fred is the program director of the Durham Economic Resource Center called DERC, which is helps people with employment readiness and training and placement. They have grown out of the work of the End Poverty Group, and last week we heard from that director, Mel Williams, who helped get DERC started, along with some other folks in the community. Fred is also a member of the Homeless Services Advisory Committee, which oversees the housing policies and activities for the city of Durham, and we're proud he's in that role. Tanya Dingle. Tanya, will you stand up? Tanya is with the works with General Management Solutions Incorporated, which, if I understand it correctly, contracts with the Office of Workforce and Economic Development to provide employment readiness training activities, and also to work with private industry to make sure the right people are getting delivered to the job. She's the access point that helps make that movement from I'm over here without a job and need one to here's a place that needs to hire somebody. So we're very fortunate to have her working in Durham, and from my interaction with her over the last few months, I've really found her to be someone compassionate and smart and analytical, can really think things through and make things happen. And we're currently working with her on developing a job readiness training and placement program along with Durham Tech for heads of household that would be served through our rapid rehousing program, where homeless families are moving out of homelessness into their own housing, and we want to help them enhance their income while they're in that process. After they speak, we'll hear 2 folks from the housing side. First will be Larissa Seibel, who's here. Larissa is the housing director for Reinvestment Partners, and she'll tell you more about that as she comes forward. She's a long-time housing advocate in Durham and has made lots of great things happen through the years. She was with Affordable Housing Coalition and all the jobs they have there for quite a few years, and also as a former city council member. And I will say she cast my favorite vote on city council ever when we were advocating for permanent supportive housing in the neighborhood, and the community had rallied against us because they didn't want that kind of housing there. The vote that night was 11-1 against us for funding by 1 vote. And I think Larissa through the years has shown what her tradition would call chutzpah. And so I'm proud to know her and proud that she's here tonight. And Steve Schul, right here. We'll complete our program talking about housing, especially addressing what's happening from the city council level. As you all may know, Steve is the founder and former publisher of the Independent Weekly, which he just relinquished last year after many years of doing that. He's a former school board member that has helped our school system navigate some really tough issues, and now he's recently been elected as a city council member and has really become a strong voice for homeless and housing issues, and so we're fortunate to have him along with these other three folks here this evening. And Fred, how about starting us off?
All right. Thank you, Terry, and I want to thank everybody for inviting me here today. Like Terry said, my name is Fred Stoppelkamp, and I am the program director of a nonprofit here in Durham called Durham Economic Resource Center, DERC. And what we do is we do two things. One thing helps fund the other. The first thing is we do non-food distribution. And how that works is for-profits donate us brand new merchandise. Like Cato is our biggest vendor, but we also work with a group out of Boston called Potpourri, who does online order stuff. And they donate us brand new material with the understanding that we will redistribute it to nonprofits in Durham. And we're allowed to charge a small processing fee on every product that we redistribute to other nonprofits and other nonprofit affiliates in Durham. And that money that we raise, that small processing fee we raise, and it's an average about 90% off of the retail price, helps us fund our job training and job placement. So, we are about, the distribution covers about a third of our annual revenue, but almost all of it goes to the job training and job placement, which I'll talk about. Durham Economic Resource Center has been around since November 2008. I started in April 2009, and interesting enough, WIA, I went through the WIA program that got me the job at Durham Economic Resource Center. I was hired as a training coordinator is what the title was, and worked my way up to program director. But if it wasn't for WIA and me navigating through that, I would have never had the job at Durham Economic Resource Center. So kudos to Tanya and her group. What we do is job training, and the other key thing is job placement for people with barriers towards employment. Our program is 6 months long. It goes from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Monday through Thursday, so it's an intense program. The barriers of employment we deal with are criminal background record, substance abuse, mental health, and what they call dual diagnosis, which is mental health and substance abuse. We currently have about 200 actually graduate from the program, which about 300 have actually entered the program. With those 200 graduating, we have a 70% job placement rate. 70% job placement rate. And our average age is unfortunately nowhere near $19 an hour. I mean, our average wage, but it's right around $10 an hour. Our goal is $11 to $12 an hour to try to approach that living wage. So we partner with Durham Tech. Half of our training is done with Durham Tech, and we separate our training in modules. So we have Module 1, Module 2, and Module 3. In Module 1, almost all their training is done at Durham Tech, and they take a computer class, they take an employability class, they take a budgeting class, and they take a personal development class. So the three, the employability, budgeting, and computers are mostly focused on soft skills, but that personal development class is focused on life skills. And this is what we're finding, that really a lot of our trainees really need are these life skills. So that's the first 8 weeks of training. We also offer what we call a financial assistance package. So they actually receive a check every other week from us, and that check is depending on their mastery of the material and their participation. So if they hit an 80% mastery of the material and an 80% participation in Module 1, they get financial assistance of $100 bi-weekly. And this helps for bus passes. This helps most of our folks are in some kind of transitional housing, which is usually averages around $100 to $125 a week. Some of them have to pay childcare. Some of them have to still pay restitution on their of their crime they committed or their probation. So that's in Module 1. Then in Module 2, we do half of our training. They take a more advanced computer class at Durham Tech, and they take a leadership class at Durham Tech. And then the other half of the training is at the actual distribution center. And I teach them customer service, in and outbound logistics, processing, inventory control, and they all are trained at the front desk. Their financial assistance package goes up to $200 bi-weekly, and they have to participate and master 90% of the program. They also get what we call Green Tracks training. They get 2 weeks of intense environmental and sustainable training in biodiesel, horticulture, solar, and weatherization. And then in Module 3, it's all work simulation. So pay them $10 an hour, 12 hours a week. So bi-week, that's $240. And then when they are not working, they have to involved in 3 things. They either do an internship, a career readiness class, try to get some kind of certification, usually with Durham Tech, and the other is some kind of learning experience, like volunteering or something like that. But something to keep them engaged and something to add to their resume. We have a job placement specialist who works under me, and she's the one that does all the networking, helps promote our trainees, goes over their resumes, does mock interviewing, and she also works with our alumni. So we have an alumni program where the alumni meet once a month and collaborate together, talk about job leads, just get to visit each other and things like that. Because they're with us for 6 months, we can give them a recommendation. So what we're finding is there's a huge gap, or for a lot of them, there's a big gap in their employment history. And that, along with a criminal background record, could really be a major barrier for them not to find employment. So because they're with us for 6 months, we can give them a letter of recommendation. We can make calls, and we can say, this person is clean and sober. This person shows up on time. This person has the ability to learn, and this person stays the task. So what we're doing is we're answering the 4 unknowns that a particular employer does not know when you sit down and interview with them. What our struggles are and what our barriers are is achieving that high school diploma or GED. In the past, we used to require that they had a high school diploma or GED, but we saw that there was such a high need for this job training and job placement that now we've incorporated with Durham Tech to work towards that high school diploma or GED. The other big barrier is the criminal background record, and that is huge. Durham now has the ban the box, but those are for city and county jobs. Folks like with Walmart, Target, and Lowe's and Home Depot, they fill out these applications online, and it automatically, when they check that box with criminal background record, it kicks them out. So they don't even have a chance to interview. So that's one of our big barriers. The other one is a driver's license. The driver's license, a lot of times they've accumulated a lot of fines and things like that, and it's hard to get to reestablish that driver's license. And then the third is for them to maintain their sobriety. When they're in our program, they have to be clean to get in our program, and then we do random screenings and scheduled screenings. But that's basically what we do. I've been with this program for, like I said, 4 years, and The distribution part of the program is, is really, just to be honest with you, is my least favorite part of the program. But what makes up for it is these trainees. Like, we just had a trainee last week that just got a job with Cree. Cree pays a good wage. And this, if you would, I would just wish you were all there in that lobby, in that distribution center. She was just dancing in the aisles. She was just completely, it was, when she first started, she was one place. Then she was here. And then when she got her job at Cree, she was almost reformed, a new person, because with our training and our help, our push, and her confidence, was able to perform well in the interview and be offered the job. And that's why I show up every morning, and that, and that's why I come out and I advocate and I come to these things. And I just want that people need second chances. It's all about second chances. I've always said that we've all made mistakes. It's just that some of us haven't been caught. And I know it's funny, but that is reality. That is reality. And the ones that have been caught, that criminal background record follows them forever, especially if it's a felony. It follows them forever. So it's all about second chances. And the alternative is reincarceration or homelessness or something like that. So we have to really start looking at what are we going to do with people with criminal background records, and how are we going to get them living jobs, living wage jobs. And we have to change the thinking on, once a thief, always a thief. Once an addict, always an addict. That perception has to change. If it does not change, then we are going to be going over the same thing over and over and over again. Thank you.